Why isn't Bitcoin's price moving? ETFs, miners, derivatives, futures, whales, or some mysterious villain behind the curtain? The real explanation in my mind is so much more nuanced. Bitcoin is fighting what I call liquidity headwinds. I do not simply mean there's no money. There's always money. There's capital everywhere. Bitcoin is not dead. It's not broken. It's not invalidated. It's just drifting. But drifting is not sinking. If you bought Bitcoin because you thought it would go up every week, this market will fuck you up. Where is the marginal investment dollar going today?
George Bodine.
The marginal investment dollar going today? Right now, that marginal dollar has a lot of choices. It can go into treasuries and earn a real yield without Bitcoin volatility. The 10-year treasury was recently around 4.5%, which is not nothing. I'm a Bitcoiner. My hurdle rate is way, way higher than that. It can go into Nvidia. Nvidia recently had a market capitalization just above $5 trillion, $81 billion in quarterly revenue. This is cash flow, earnings, institutional legitimacy. It can go into the hyperscalers that are building out the AI infrastructure. It can soon go into mega IPOs like Spacex, which Reuters just said they're going to target a roughly $75 billion raise, puts them at about a $1.75 trillion valuation. So the question is not whether Bitcoin has changed or it's less important to the future fiat-driven collapse that's looking for a neutral reserve asset. Bitcoin's still the same. It's still the greatest monetary invention in the history of mankind. But the question the asset allocators, investors, institutions are asking is, where can I get the most return for the least risk while the world looks scary? And right now, the world does look scary. It does. And the follow-up question, though, to that is whether Bitcoin is winning the capital allocation contest in these marginal dollars. And for the moment, I think the answer is not exactly. U.S. Treasuries. Bitcoiners dismiss Treasuries because we understand the long-term problem. I wouldn't hold government paper right now under any circumstances. It's toxic. Deficits are structural. But a pension fund, family office, corporate treasury, or risk committee does not think in 20-year philosophical arcs of where this is going for the future of money. They're thinking in quarters. They're thinking in government-driven mandates, volatility, drawdowns, and above all, career risk. If they can get 4 to 5% in government paper, that changes behavior for many of them. You do not have to take as much volatility. You don't have to explain to your board why you bought Bitcoin at 70 some thousand and now it's down 18%. That yield becomes gravity. And if you're thinking about strategy stretch right now, STRC, remember, the rest of the world does not get Bitcoin like you and I do. If you talk to somebody and you try and explain to them a preferred built on top of Bitcoin, you're going to get a lot of blank stares. It's an opportunity cost problem. Bitcoin thrives when the fiat world looks broken and the risk-free alternative looks pathetic. When the risk-free alternative pays you, Bitcoin's got to work harder. Kevin Warsh has now taken the oath as Federal Reserve Chair, and the FOM selected him. So the market is now trying to understand whether we're moving towards easier money, tighter money, or a long pause. And I think people might be surprised by Warsh, but bottom line is it's uncertainty right now. Liquidity floodgates are not open. Vice Chair Philip Jefferson recently described policy. It's well positioned with the federal funds rate between 3.5 and 3.75%, while still acknowledging the inflation risks. And there's consensus in the Fed chambers around that narrative. It's a central bank that's saying we're not panicking, but we're not racing to rescue assets either. And that matters for Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a monetary asset, but it also still is treated like a high beta risk asset. When liquidity expands, Bitcoin usually breathes. When liquidity tightens or stays constrained, Bitcoin has to fight for those marginal dollars that we're discussing. So if the market begins to believe that Warsh is not going to rush into cuts or that inflation may force the Fed to remain restrictive, that becomes another headwind. It's not a death blow, it's just a headwind. Now let's talk about the biggest capital magnet on earth right now, and that's AI. I don't think it's accurate to say that Nvidia is taking liquidity out of the system, not in a mechanical sense. If I buy Nvidia shares from you and you get the cash does not disappear. But that's not the real issue. The real issue is attention, allocation, and capital expenditure. AI is monopolizing the growth narrative. Every major institution wants to know how to get exposure to AI. Every venture capitalist, they want AI in the pitch deck. Every board wants to know whether the company has an AI strategy. Every CEO wants to say AI on their earnings call. AI-related capex could reach just under $1 trillion in 2026 and then over $1 trillion by 2027, potentially absorbing a very large share of the operating cash flow. This is a new capital cycle, and when the AI market is in an unprecedented capital cycle, it creates gravity. It pulls in engineers, it pulls in debt, equity, venture capital, private equity. It pulls in retail attention, pulls in Wall Street coverage. It becomes the story. It just becomes narrative. Bitcoin is competing against that, full stop. Not because Bitcoin and AI are the same thing. Bitcoin is money. AI is computation. The capital markets are looking at returns. Right now, AI looks like the return story. And above all, the AI hardware sector is absorbing the marginal growth dollar. This whole stack has become the market's favorite place to reimagine the future. The US hyperscalers are going to invest more than $700 billion in AI infrastructure in 2026. Bitcoin has always been an asymmetric future bet, but now it has competition. The difference is that AI gives institutions a familiar wrapper, like stocks, earnings, capex, data centers, chips, cash flow, enterprise customers. Bitcoin gives them something more radical, a new monetary base layer transmitted at the speed of light. That is harder for them to understand and underwrite. When a liquidity is abundant, both can run. When capital is more selective, Bitcoin has to compete. SpaceX is the obvious one. If SpaceX comes public at anything close to the numbers that we were discussing just a few minutes ago, it's not just going to be another IPO. This is going to be a prestige asset. Elon, rockets, Starlink, defense, space infrastructure, the moon, AI, national ambition, all wrapped up into one public market vehicle. Reuters has reported that SpaceX may be eligible for fast inclusion of Russell indexes. Passive capital could be pulled into the trade faster than usual. Now, I'm not saying that the SpaceX IPO is going to drain the ocean, but it definitely changes the current. Retail gets excited, institutions make room, index funds, they prepare. CNBC talks about it all day long. It's the attention machine, the narrative, and its turns. And Bitcoin, once again, has to fight for mindshare. Bitcoin's not just competing for capital. We are a network. Bitcoin is more entangled with traditional markets than Bitcoiners sometimes want to admit. Before 2020, Bitcoin's rolling correlations with S&P 500 and the NASDAQ, it was basically like zero. There was no correlation. But since 2020, every year it's built. I mean, that makes sense. Bitcoin has become more institutionalized. We now have the ETFs. We have got public companies holding Bitcoin. We have macro funds trading it. It's on the CME market. It's futures, derivatives. Allocators treating it like it's part of a broader risk basket. And it's good and bad. The good news is that Bitcoin is no longer a weird corner of the internet. The bad news is that when Wall Street adopts something, Wall Street also categorizes it. And right now, a lot of Wall Street still categorizes Bitcoin as risk on technology. You and I, we know that's not correct. Bitcoin is not a tech stock. But price action doesn't care what you and I think. In the short term, Bitcoin just trades like part of the same risk complex as tech. Correlation recently is up above 6, maybe 0.7 at times. None of this means that the Bitcoin thesis is broken. In fact, I think the opposite. The very things that are creating all these headwinds for Bitcoin today will become tailwinds later.
The wind just hasn't turned yet. That's the whole point. So the worst move right now is letting the drift shake you into selling. You don't have to. Borrow against your Bitcoin with Ledn and keep the stack for when it does turn. Borrowing carries real risk. Only borrow what you can sleep on. Head to ledn.io/boomers and check your rate before you apply. Now back to the show.
High treasury yields make the debt harder to service. And right now, it's going to be over $1 trillion interest expense next year. AI capex will undoubtedly create massive pockets of overinvestment, malinvestment, financial fragility, bubbles, mega IPOs, late cycle scramble for prestige assets. A Fed that stays tighter for longer may stress parts of the financial system that only function when money is cheap. We don't even know what's going to happen as rates rise. When that stress appears, people will rediscover why Bitcoin exists. Bitcoin is not a claim on a company. It's not a discounted cash flow model. It's not a promise from a board of directors. It's not a venture bet that needs an exit. And it's not a bond that depends on the solvency of a government already buried in obligations and totally fucked up. Bitcoin is the apex predator here in this world. Final settlement, digital scarcity. A monetary asset with no CEO, no earnings call, no headquarters, no bailout window, no committee deciding how many units should exist. That is why I own it. That thesis has not changed. And that's why I think these Bitcoin doldrums matter. They test whether you understand what you hold. If you bought Bitcoin because you thought it would go up every week, this market will fuck you up. If you bought Bitcoin because you understand the direction of the fiat system, this market is just noise right now. AI is loud. Treasuries are paying. Spacex is coming. Nvidia is printing money for everyone. The Fed is not handing out liquidity. Not yet, anyway. So Bitcoin drifts, but drifting is not sinking. The doldrums that we're in now, they end when the wind changes, just like they did in the real world. In the world of debt, deficits, monetary manipulation, and increasingly fragile capital structures, the question you need to answer to yourself right now is whether you're still going to have your Bitcoin when the wind changes. That's all, kids. See you soon.
Bitcoin boomers.